It's the problem of the week. And we are going to use substitution to solve equations that can look a little bit difficult. So this is going to be especially handy as you go up through pre-cal and calculus to make problems that are really scary looking easier to handle. So we're just going to introduce it here. So I'm going to choose to use a u for my variable for substitution. You can use any variable you want to. I wouldn't suggest using x because you're already using x. But what do I think is harder? Do I think that x is more difficult to deal with, or do I think that x to the 1/2, which is the square root of x, is more difficult to deal with? And I think this is, okay? So I'm going to make my u equal to x to the 1/2. And then I can actually go in and say, so remember this is the square root of x. So if I square this, then u squared equals x. So if I square both sides of this, which I'm allowed to do, then u squared is u squared, and x to the 1/2, or the square root of x, squared is x. So that allows me to write this in a form that I actually understand a little bit more clearly. So now I have this, which hopefully you recognize is now quadratic in nature. So I can either factor, complete the square, which I'm not going to do because this is not 1 and this is not even. I can use square root formula, but this is not a chunk squared plus or minus a number. And then, or this is also, you can use quadratic formula if you want to. I don't want to because this is factorable. So I'm going to multiply my first and my last, which is an 8u squared. So I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to 8u squared. But when I add them together, I get a negative number. So I need the same sign, but they add to a negative. So my options are 1u times 8u or 2u times 4u. So when I add these together with the same sign, I get negative 9u. So I'm going to replace my negative 9u with a minus 1u and a minus 8u. So I've got 4u squared minus 8u minus 1u plus 2 is 0. Notice I flip-flopped because 8 and 4 play well together, okay? And so you don't have to flip-flop. You'll get the same answer I do. And I don't also have to write the 1. I just wanted you to see where it was coming from for matching purposes. So I'm going to look at the first two. So what's common? I can pull out a 4u, okay? And then what's left is going to give me a u minus 2. Then what's common on my last two is I'm leading off negative, so pull out a negative. And there's nothing else common, so I'm going to pull out a negative 1. That leaves me with a u minus 2. So look at this magic. Your parentheses match. So factor out that common term, which is u plus or u minus 2, and then 4u minus 1. That needs to equal 0. So I'm going to go ahead and isolate u. So I've got this term times this term needs to be 0. So one of those terms must be 0. And so I'm going to add 2 here. So I get u equals 2, add 1. 4u is 1, divide by 4. So u is 1/4. Okay, but really and truly, we are not dealing with u. What are we dealing with? We are dealing with the square root of x. So now that that messiness is over, I got through the algebra of it, but instead of writing u equals 2, I'm going to say the square root of x actually equals 2. And I'm going to say the square root of x actually equals 1/4. So when I do that, now I just got to square both sides and I'm done. So if I square both sides, I'm going to get x equals 4. And if I square both sides, I'm going to get x equals 1/16. And that is your problem of the week.